My name's Bob Tremblay, and I've spent my life exploring and enjoying the great outdoors. I love to hike, I love to canoe, I love to cross-country ski and go snowshoeing. I really have been very, very fortunate as I've pursued this passion my entire life. And there's so many wonderful places to go. I love seeing wildlife and wild places, wild rivers, wild mountaintops, any time of year, summer, winter, spring. To me, it's all good. And so what we'd like to do in this series is I've been very, very fortunate is that I've built my career sharing my passion for the outdoors with other people. And as an outdoor adventure guide and outdoor adventure educator, I've taken thousands of people on all sorts of great adventures. Again, rock climbing, canoeing, rappelling, caving. To me, any excuse to get outdoors and explore is a good excuse. So in this series, what we want to do is kind of do a video journey of all these different outdoor adventures, all seasons of the year. And so we're going to be doing episodes that will include rock climbing, ice climbing, canoeing, possibly kayaking, caving, maybe dog sledding, outdoor wilderness survival, you name it. We're going to find an excuse to get out there and bring you along with us. So really glad that you're here to kind of share this series with us. It's going to be a new adventure for me, and so I look forward to sharing what I have with you. All right, so we're here in what I call the Toaster Slot in Sunderland, and this is a great location to kind of learn to do climbing techniques and all your technical rope work for confined spaces. So we've got a great spot to kind of practice. We've got a crevasse right over here that we're going to use, and then once you guys kind of practice that, then I'm going to set you up to go into the Toaster Slot, and you'll actually be able to rappel into a cave. So I know you guys have been rock climbing before, but there's a couple of things that are a little bit different for going into a cave or going into a crevasse. And the biggest difference is in terms of the ropes, is that I know you guys are familiar with the climbing ropes, the rock climbing rope. These rock climbing ropes are designed to stretch a little bit, but what we really want to use in a cave or in a crevasse is a static rope, because we don't want the rope stretching, because if it's stretching and it's going into confined space, there's a possibility that it could cut itself over an edge. So we're going to be using a static rope. Other than that, it's really very similar stuff to rock climbing. We'll be using our carabiners, and we'll be using figure-8 descenders for the rappelling. What we really need to do now is to get harnessed up. All right, so what I have here is this is some of the equipment that we're going to be using for our rappelling descent into the cave. And so we're really trying to bring as minimal, everything that we need, but as little as we can get away with, just to keep things simple. When you're working in a dark and confined environment, you really want to keep things pretty simple. So what I have here are, you can kind of see on my climber's rack, is I have some carabiners. And carabiners, these are the metal links that are used to kind of connect the rope to the harness or the harness to a leash. This is sort of like the real quick kind of connector. And so a single carabiner, and the carabiners that we have today are all what we call locking carabiners. So the carabiner has a gate, it opens and closes, and then we call it a locking carabiner because it has a screw gate, so I can twist this and it prevents it from opening or closing. So this is actually going to be connected to the climber's harness as they're rappelling down the rappel line. The other thing they're going to have is we can see we have a carabiner here with this figure-8 descender. And the figure-8 descender, this is a real simple device. It has no moving parts. It's called a figure-8 because it's shaped like a figure-8. It has a large hole and a small hole. And what this does is I will be attaching this to the climbing rope. So what we do is we take a bend of the rope. This is called a bite. We take that bite, we pass it through the large hole of the figure-8, and then over the tail. And then here's an instance where we use the carabiner. Carabiner would go into the figure-8. This would go to the climber's harness. And the way the rope is passing through this figure-8, it creates a lot of friction. And so that friction effectively holds the rope as the climber is sliding down it. All right, so all this friction, instead of holding onto the rope desperately with their hands, right, to kind of let themselves down, in which case they would get rope burn, is all that friction goes on this figure eight descender. So the rope actually slides through here, but it slides through in a controlled way because of the bend and because of the wraps. And the only knot that we're using today is the figure eight on a bite knot. And so the way that we tie the figure eight on a bite is we take a bite of rope, and a bite of rope is just a bend of rope. And then once I take that bend, I kind of bring it back over, so it's sort of like drooping in front of me. I take that original bend and I wrap it around up through itself, and I have the figure eight on a bite. And it's called that because it looks like a figure eight. This has been tested for many, many years in mountaineering circles. This knot, when it's properly tied, is pretty much universally known as the safest knot for trusting human life to. All right, so now the first thing we're going to do is we need to select an anchor to attach our rope to go over down into the gorge. Wrap the rope at least 3 times around my anchor. And then, once I have it wrapped, I'm going to clip the carabiner into the rope itself and lock it. And this is called a tensionless knot. And so the 3 wraps going around the anchor have enough friction, so I actually don't have any tension on the knot, which is why they call it a tensionless knot. Very easy to tie in the dark. Okay, we're imagining we're inside of a cave. And it's also very easy to untie. And I'm going to run the rope through that carabiner. This isn't actually acting as an anchor, but you see now it's holding the rope up so we don't have it down on that edge. All right, so we're just about ready to rappel down into our gorge. Right now I am still on this leash, so I'm safe on top of this edge. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a figure eight descender and a carabiner, which you guys are familiar with from rock climbing. And I am going to attach my descender to the rope, my rappel rope, by putting a bend through the large hole of the figure eight, looping it over the tail. I'm going to take my carabiner, clip it into my figure eight. And what I am going to do now is I'm going to clip that carabiner into my harness. And now that I am attached to the rappel line, I can undo this leash that has been protecting me on the edge. All right, so now I am completely committed onto my rappel line. So I'm going to back over to my edge. You want to have a good wide base with your feet. Your feet should be at least shoulder width apart. Your knees should be locked. Your right hand, which is your brake hand, which is controlling your speed, goes back behind your back. And your left hand, you want to be very careful that you don't put anything too close to the figure eight, because it could get caught in it. So your fingers could get caught in it. If you have a loose strap on your helmet or on a jacket, it could get caught in it. So you really want to keep everything away from that. So I'm going to keep my hand really kind of right here away from the figure eight. And now I'm going to start easing myself over the edge, keeping my feet wide, my knees locked, and I'm ready to descend. Now when you're rappelling into confined space, you always go slow. You never know what kind of obstacle could be down in the cave below you. You could be going right down onto, the cliff could pinch closed, the crevasse could start to narrow. You want to kind of think about being in confined space. I could have a wall up against me. All right, so you're trying to go nice and slow. You don't want your rope bouncing up and down. Control your speed down. Ease yourself back. And enjoy the ride.
There he goes. He's gone.
I don't know about going over the edge like that. Oh, he's definitely bouncing less than I expected.
Yeah, just kind of walking down the wall.
Not so hard.
Yeah, see how he slows himself with his hand there?
Yeah, I'm curious what he's going to do at the bottom.
Try not to bounce or go too fast. I am in a confined space. Get here at the bottom, the deeper I get, the darker it gets, the cooler it gets. And let's get yourself down.
Okay, so I'll do the rope.
Alright.
Okay, so first you take a bit of rope. Alright, then let it hang loose. Okay, and then I wrap it around. Alright, it was twice, right? So
Yeah.
I bring it up. Okay, through here. Ah, looks like a figure eight to me.
Looks good to me.
Okay. Alright, do you want to put it around the tree then?
Sure.
Okay.
So turn it around. Turn it around a few times.
I think he said 3
Three. Okay.
at minimum.
At a minimum. Okay. So there's. More.
Okay. And then you said just right on the rope itself.
Yeah. Okay, so hook the carabiner onto the rope and lock that down. Look good. All right.
Cool.
So should we get Bob to check this?
Yeah, I guess so. I can't think of anything else. I think that's it.
All right. Okay, Bob, see what you think.
All right, let's see how you did. All right. Good. Yeah, there's some things I'd like to point out here. Let's start off with what's good first, and then we'll take a look at what can be improved. So I'm looking here at the figure 8 knot, and this is a really good knot. I like the fact that you have about a foot of extra tail. All right, you always want to have at least 3 or 4 inches. This is nice. And the figure 8 knot itself is nice and neat. I can really I can see the entire thing. I can trace it through. That's good. Now as we look at your tensionless knot, is when you're tying things, especially that are going to be for your safety, is neatness counts. And so the way this is kind of sprawling all over the tree, even though it's probably a lot of friction, it's probably going to hold, I would rather see it like nice and neat. So that would be one very quick way we can improve that right there. Neatness counts. And then the other thing is if your anchor is over here as you're kind of pulling it, so we're imagining that if you were rappelling that way, is this is kind of floppy. And so that I would say we don't want it like bending back on it, but that's almost just a little too much if we just had a little bit of a bend there so that we'd have not quite as much flop. Okay, so this is like your final answer, right? This is what you're satisfied with? I would give it about a 92, which is good, but it's not 100%. And to bring it up those last 8 points, it's one single thing, is it really is just too high off the ground for your anchor. Because the higher you are up on your anchor, the more torque you're putting on it. So really to kind of make it as safe as possible, to have it down low. It's the roots that are holding this down, even though this is a good solid tree. Yeah, good. If you can do that over there, I'll let you go over the edge.
So I guess we're ready to go.
I guess so. So who's going first, you or me?
Well, you're already on the leash, so might as well.
All right. We'll see you down there.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks.
This form's looking pretty good. It's not bouncing too much. So if you were in a cave, you wouldn't hit the back. All right, I guess it's my turn. Oh, I think I put this on. Bob, did I put this on correctly or is it swapped?
It'll work.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All right, well, you guys did great rappelling, setting up the anchors and rappelling down into the practice crevasse. So now this is where the rubber hits the road, and now you're going to be rappelling down into an underground subterranean cave. This is where I'm going to let you guys just kind of do what you already know. All right, so follow me and I'll show you where the toaster slot is.
Oh, I didn't realize there was more.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We're going to go down underneath the ground.
Yeah, I guess so. What's the toaster slot like?
I
Guess
don't
we'll
know.
find
It
out.
sounds dark.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch your step. And so here we have the toaster slot. So this is, you can kind of see, a very narrow vertical entrance to an underground cave. And so from here, you'll be rappelling in a very confined space about 45, maybe 50 feet down. It's deeper than where we were.
Oh, wow.
And a lot darker and a lot more narrow. All right, so I'm going to give you all the carabiners, everything you're going to need to set up your anchors. The webbing is up above. And then what we're also going to do now too is I really want you guys to do this on your own, as though I am not here. And so even though you're doing it as though I'm not here, I'm going to be watching. And so what we're going to do is I have a safety whistle for you. And I have the same thing. So I will be at a distance. I'll be watching you as you set up. If you do anything that's unsafe, I'll give a little toot. And that's like your warning. Maybe you'll catch yourself, okay? Maybe you'll correct yourself. If you're doing something and you're unsure, all right, where you really are kind of wondering if you have it right or if it's, you know, I don't want you to do anything that you're uncertain about, then you can kind of toot your little whistle and I'll come in and help you out. All right? The goal here is for you to do this completely on your own. If you feel good about the anchors, if I don't do anything, if I don't say anything, that means they're good. All right? And then you're good to head on down. And later, once you're all set up, I'll meet you in the cave.
So what do you think about anchors here?
All right. Well, it's just you and me now. Do you?
So this stump doesn't look very useful.
Oh, no.
That's dead.
I would
so
not
don't
trust my
use
life to that stump.
This stuff's kind of small and not really where we want it. We got some good trees up there. I think they look nice and live and solidly rooted.
Okay, well, let's go look. It's probably better than here anyway.
All right. We'll do our main tensional knot off of that tree and our direction change off of this one.
All right.
Get this ready while you're doing that.
So, all right. So you have the rope all set up 3 times around. Carabiner. Oh.
Uh-oh. What do you think we did wrong here?
Yeah, you're right. You have a good live tree. All right. But as I look around, one thing is I look up above and look at that widowmaker that's in the top of that tree. Do you see that?
Yeah.
You know? So even though the tree's live, you got a big dead branch right there. It's just like waiting to come down on you, you know, and if this were to move at all. But then also as I look around, it seems to me like you have some better options right up here.
All right, so I'm getting ready to go down into the toaster slot cave. This will be interesting, a little different. It looks like it's kind of a tight space down there. The angle of the walls is kind of going back and forth, so there may be some free hanging rappel as well as in contact with one side or the other. It's probably kind of damp down there as well. Sounds like mossy walls on one side and maybe a little bit of running water on the other side. And of course it's dark, so you're kind of going down into the dark unknown. Not too crazy, but a little different, so I'm looking forward to it. Way I'm going to end up facing here. Probably try starting out this way and end up turning around.
Right.
Here we go. Pull my slack. And away I go. So now I'm just free hanging.
fish.
Alright, I got those away.
Alright.
And you want to take up all the slack you can before you load the rope.
Okay, hold on. Alright. Coming down.
Alright, I got this.
Okay. Okay, I'm coming down. So, coming down through the cave is definitely a much different experience from rappelling outside on the cliffs. Here, you can see I'm between two rock walls, and one of them is nice and mossy, and the other is practically dripping with water, which means I can barely get a foothold. But, I mean, it's more challenging, but it's more fun. You know, it's darker. I can't really see where I'm going, even with the headlamp. The only light I have is from above, but I don't know, makes it more exciting. Well, so the cliffs are just on outside, much more well lit so I can see where I'm going. And they were a little slippery, but I thought they were slippery anyway until I came into here and found how much more my feet slid. One of the only problems I had there was just I couldn't always get my feet on, but here there's so many different, the walls come out in so many different sizes that sometimes I'm stuck in tight quarters, and sometimes then my feet don't even touch the wall, so I'm just hanging. And, you know, it's darker. There's a lot more debris that I have to deal with that kind of collects from up above. And it's maybe a little more scary coming into a hole that's completely pitch black instead of just going over a cliff.
Well, Steve and Shelby are down there in the bottom of the toaster slot. So they set up, they chose their anchors, they set up their rappel ropes, they went down. They just did a fantastic job. I'm really, really excited for them. So the only time I had to give them a little warning with my whistle was just in terms of like the anchor that they had originally chose, but they did a really good job. So I'm really, really psyched for them. So now it's my turn. They're down there waiting for me. I'm gonna set up, I'm gonna rappel down into the toaster slot, and then fortunately, there's another way that we're gonna be able to walk out. So I'm gonna join them now. Easy breezy. All right, well, congratulations, guys. We're down here in the toaster slot. You know, well done. You know, you did everything perfectly. You know, I'm really, really impressed. Good job setting up the anchors. Good job kind of throwing things down. I know this is a lot different than like regular rock climbing, you know, in terms of the confined space and stuff. So how do you guys feel?
Good, yeah.
Feel good about it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging coming down the walls and kind of banging from one side to the other, trying to figure out how to get oriented, but yeah, not too bad.
All right, good. Well, the good news is that there's an easier way out, and so we're going to be going through, kind of squeezing between that kind of those two walls, and then heading up towards the light. So excellent job. As we're down here, though, kind of imagine if this were a crevasse in a glacier, this would all be ice,
Yeah.
and it would be 10 degrees here. So. This gives us an idea of what that is, but it's not the exact same environment. But anyway, let's head on out. So. Want to hand me stuff? All right, the light of day.